తత్సవితుర్వరేణ్యం భర్గో దేవస్య ధీమహి ధియో యో నః ప్రచోదయాత్. భూర్భువస్సువః తత్సవితుర్వరేణ్యం భర్గో దేవస్య ధీమహి ధియో యో నః ప్రచోదయాత్. భూర్భువస్సువః తత్సవితుర్వరేణ్యం భర్గో దేవస్య ధీమహి ధియో యో నః ప్రచోదయాత్.
జయ గణరాయ శ్రీ గణరాయ జయ గణరాయ శ్రీ గణరాయ జయ గణరాయ శ్రీ గణరాయ మంగళమూర్తి మోరియా. జయ గణరాయ శ్రీ గణరాయ మంగళమూర్తి మోరియా. జయ గణరాయ శ్రీ గణరాయ సింధురవదనా పంకజ చరణా సింధురవదనా పంకజ చరణా సింధురవదనా పంకజ చరణా మంగళమూర్తి మోరియా. సింధురవదనా పంకజ చరణా మంగళమూర్తి మోరియా. సిద్ధి వినాయక మంగళదాయక సిద్ధి వినాయక మంగళదాయక సిద్ధి వినాయక మంగళదాయక మంగళమూర్తి మోరియా. సిద్ధి వినాయక మంగళదాయక మంగళమూర్తి మోరియా. జయ గణరాయ శ్రీ గణరాయ జయ గణరాయ శ్రీ గణరాయ మంగళమూర్తి మోరియా. సింధురవదనా పంకజ చరణా సింధురవదనా పంకజ చరణా మంగళమూర్తి మోరియా. సిద్ధి వినాయక మంగళదాయ సిద్ధి వినాయక మంగళదాయక మంగళమూర్తి మోరియా. सिद्धिविनायक मंगलदायक मंगलमूर्ति मोरया। जय गणराया श्री गणराया।
गुरुदेवा गुरु गोविंदा, गुरुदेवा गुरु गोविंदा, मंदर गिरिधर शिरडिपुरीश्वर, मंदर गिरिधर शिरडिपुरीश्वर, जयपतीश्वर साई शिवा, जयपतीश्वर साई शिवा, गुरुदेवा गुरु गोविंदा, सुंदर रूपा श्री साई देवा, सुंदर रूपा श्री साई देवा, वैदेही मोहन नारायणा, वैदेही मोहन नारायणा, वैदेही मोहन नारायणा, वैदेही मोहन नारायणा, गुरुदेवा गुरु गोविंदा, धर गिरिधर शिरडिपुरीश्वर, जयपतीश्वर साई शिवा, गुरुदेवा गुरु गोविंदा, सुंदर रूपा श्री साई देवा, वैदेही मोहन नारायणा, वैदेही मोहन नारायणा, वैदेही मोहन नारायणा, गुरुदेवा गुरु गोविंदा।
जय जग जननी मां, जननी मां, जय जग जननी मां, जय जननी मां, जय मां, जय मां, जय मां, साई शिव शंकरी साई परमेश्वरी साई शिव शंकरी साई परमेश्वरी अम्बे भवानी मां जय अम्बे भवानी मां जय जय जगजननी मां जय मां
कन्हैया कृष्ण कन्हैया कृष्ण कन्हैया कृष्ण कन्हैया नटवर नंद कुमार कन्हैया नटवर नंद कुमार कन्हैया वृंदावन के बंसी धरिया वृंदावन के बंसी धरिया राधा मनोहर रास रचैया राधा मनोहर रास रचैया गिरिधर नागर श्याम कन्हैया गिरिधर नागर श्याम कन्हैया श्री मधुसूदन साई कन्हैया श्री मधुसूदन साई कन्हैया कृष्ण कन्हैया कृष्ण कन्हैया नटवर नंद कुमार कन्हैया वृंदावन के बंसी दरिया राधा मनोहर रास रचैया गिरिधर नागर श्याम कन्हैया श्री मधुसूदन साई कन्हैया श्री मधुसूदन साई कन्हैया कृष्ण कन्हैया कृष्ण कन्हैया
भस्मभूषितांग साई चंद्रशेखरा भस्मभूषितांग साई चंद्रशेखरा पालने त्रिशूलधारी साई शंकरा पालने त्रिशूलधारी साई शंकरा भस्मभूषितांग साई चंद्रशेखरा सामगान प्रियकरा साई शंकरा सामगान प्रियकरा साई शंकरा सत्य साई शंकरा साई शंकरा सत्य साई शंकरा भस्मभूषितांग साई चंद्रशेखरा पालने त्रिशूलधारी साई शंकरा भस्मभूषितांग साई चंद्रशेखरा समगान प्रियकरा साई शंकरा हर 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 शिव शंभो नटन शेखरा पंचवास साई देव साई शंकरा साई शंकरा सत्य साई शंकरा साई शंकरा सत्य साई शंकरा भस्मभूषिताग्र साई चंद्रशेखरा
विठ्ठल विठ्ठल हरी विठ्ठला विठ्ठल विठ्ठल हरी विठ्ठला विठ्ठल विठ्ठल नाम भजो हरी विठ्ठला विठ्ठल विठ्ठल नाम भजो हरी विठ्ठला पांडुरंग विठ्ठला विठ्ठल विठ्ठल पांडुरंग विठ्ठला विठ्ठल 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 नाम भजो हरी विठ्ठला विठ्ठल विठ्ठल नाम भजो हरी विठ्ठला विठ्ठल विठ्ठल हरी विठ्ठला विठ्ठल विठ्ठल साई विठ्ठला विठ्ठल विठ्ठल हरी विठ्ठला विठ्ठल विठ्ठल नाम भजो हरी विठ्ठला पांडुरंग विठ्ठला विठ्ठल 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 नाम भजो हरी विठ्ठला विठ्ठल विठ्ठल हरी विठ्ठला विठ्ठल विठ्ठल साई विठ्ठला विठ्ठल विठ्ठल हरी विठ्ठला
श्याम सुंदरा मदन गोपाला सच्चिदानंदा साई गोपाला हरि नारायणा हरि नारायणा हरि नारायणा भजरे
सुन्दरा मदन गोपाला सच्चिदानन्दा साई गोपाला गोपालना गोपी गोपालना गोपी गोपालना गोपालना गोपी गोपालना गोपी गोपालना भजरे सच्चिदानन्दा साई गोपाला गोपालना गोपी गोपालना गोपी गोपालना
Nobody is blaming people for their own disturbance. We always point fingers on the outside, this guy, that person, my boss, my relative, my neighbor. We don't realize the whole problem is inside us. So the peace and the happiness you need requires you to put your inner world in order. Unfortunately, many people don't realize there is a gap. So when they are unhappy, they think the environment is forcing them to be unhappy. There is an outer world which God has created, which is the same for everyone. There is an inner world that we create for ourselves, which is different for everyone. Now, how will we achieve peace and happiness? By tinkering with the externals? Not necessary. All you need to do is to change the way you think. It is so simple. The way you think is an inner resource. Nobody can say, I don't have an attitude. We all have our mindsets. All you need to do is change those ways of thinking. The problem is when we are harassed, we always point fingers on the outside, this guy, that person, my boss, my relative, my neighbor. We don't realize the whole problem is inside us. If you can correct that inside, this world will seem like the veritable form of God. There was one Swamiji who used to meditate in the Himalayas. He would sit in this isolated place and meditate. He was doing it for many months until the monsoons came. Now the monsoon is a wonderful season in India. You just love it because it comes after the parched Indian summer, bringing such relief. Only problem is, alongside with the monsoon come all the insects and the singing of the frogs and the croaking of the toads. So Swamiji was sitting in meditation when the frogs were doing tar tar tar, pit pit pit, gwa gwa gwa, and the crickets were making their own sound. Swamiji got extremely annoyed. He said that, don't all these creatures know that I'm sitting here in meditation and they need to hold their tongue or whatever they're using to make the sound? So he poked out of the window of his hut and said, quiet! Now he had reached such a level in his sadhana that when he said quiet, the environment listened. All the frogs and toads and crickets, they all became silent. So he said, now nobody will disturb me, let me sit down. However, in that silence, a new kind of voice arose. And this voice was arising from within him. I silenced them all. Did I do the right thing? After all, God has given them these throats to make the sound. Maybe their sound was giving great joy to God. Who was I to silence them? Now this sound that was going on disturbed Swamiji's meditation, and it was arising from inside. Until finally he decided that, it's possible that God wanted it that way. So he could not any longer live there in peace. He poked his head out of his hut once again and said, begin! So all hell was let loose As the frogs started their croaking and the crickets started their sounds, and the environment was full of a variety of sounds, and Swamiji sat down. But this time he found a deep peace within himself. A peace that comes from accepting the environment. The Bible says a peace that surpasseth all understanding. A peace when your inner world becomes in order. So the peace and the happiness you need requires you to put your inner world in order. But this mistake is so common. Everybody is blaming people for their own disturbance without realizing the gap between the outer world and the inner world. The outer world is as it is. Your inner world is gadbad. There's a gap between the two. Try and understand this gap. You will understand it through the story of Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl was an Austrian Jew living in Vienna in the 1930s, a practicing psychologist and an accomplished psychologist. He had sent a paper to Sigmund Freud, and the senior psychologist had even got it published. However, when Hitler went on a rampage in Europe, he started gathering all the Jews and throwing them into concentration camps in pursuance of his theory of creating a super race. Now, Viktor Frankl describes the terrible conditions in those concentration camps. Along with his immediate family and his brothers' families, they were all thrown into Auschwitz, the worst of the concentration camps. There he was separated from his wife and daughters and came to know they had been killed. He then describes that they used to live there without clothes. They would be made to walk through the night not knowing whether they would be alive the next day or not. Through this unimaginable ordeal, he then realized he had one freedom that nobody could snatch from him. The freedom to choose the thoughts that he wanted to harbor. So he decided, I will be happy. And he would be seen smiling and even laughing. His fellow inmates in the concentration camp were astonished. They would say that you are happy? What is your secret? Sometimes the guards would ask him. He became a source of inspiration for everyone around. He said, it's my choice. I choose to be happy. He then decided he would live through the ordeal and announce his discovery to the world. Finally, when Germany lost and he was released from there, he then went off and again started practicing psychology. He created the third Viennese school of psychology called logotherapy. And he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning in Life, a book which got translated in 15 languages. And he lectured in 235 universities of the world, getting honorary PhDs from 23 of them. So he explained that, look, there is a gap, the external world and your own thoughts. Unfortunately, many people don't realize there is a gap. So when they are unhappy, they think the environment is forcing them to be unhappy. These are the reactive people, which is more than 50%. Reactive. So you ask a reactive person, why do you behave like this? He or she says, that is how I am. What to do? That is how I am. I don't have any control about it. And there is the others who are proactive. The proactive people realize that no matter what the situation, how I respond to it is my choice. So responsibility over my thoughts is the ability to respond, which is responsibility. We all are responsible for our attitudes. If you are unhappy, you have got no right to blame anybody. If you do, you are spiritually immature. We are still reactive. Reactive people, what will they say? Swamiji, I just don't feel any love for my spouse now. So what to do? I am waiting for the loving feelings to come back. When will they come back? I don't know when they'll come back. In other words, they feel love is something that will happen to them. The proactive person realizes it is a verb. You have to create the sentiments in yourself, not just let it happen to you. So if you are on this emotional roller coaster, you will go up and down, up and down, up and down. Until you become proactive, you cannot progress solidly and systematically in the spiritual journey of becoming a better person. How do you become a better person? When you stop blaming the environment and take control. No matter what the environment, I choose to think positive thoughts. I choose to be happy. Remember, that is the choice you make. And when you start making those inner choices, then you start gaining control over your mind. That is the mastery of the mind. Not let the mind control you. And how will you master your mind? When you understand the gap between the environment and your thoughts. So next time when you have festering thoughts, next time you have these negative attitudes, rather than pointing fingers, look inside. In this situation, could I think differently?
Om Jai Jagadish Hare, Swami Sathya Sai Hare, Bhaktadana Samrakshaka, Bhaktadana Samrakshaka, Bhakti Maheshwara, Om Jai Jagadish Hare, Shashi Bhagana Shri Kara, Sarva Pranapati, Swami Sarva Pranapati, Ashrita Kalpaladika, Ashrita Kalpaladika, Apadandava, Om Jai Jagadish Hare, Mata Pita Guru Daivam, Mariyantayunive, Swami Mariyantayunive, Nada Brahma Jagannatha, Nada Brahma Jagannatha, Nagendra Shayana, Om Jai समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।